Go. Hello, everybody. We are having a tea party today.
Yep.
He,
We
Tony
actually
has some
made tea.
Yeah. Tony has chamomile, is that what it is?
Yeah, I have chamomile and you got green.
Yeah, I've got green tea. Costco green tea, to be exact.
Nice. So, we got our tea. We got our uminekos. We're recording. Let's start. I'll read this thing that's over here. It says, Tea Party. You've done well to make it this far. Have you enjoyed your stay on Rockinjima? The Golden Witch has granted you an invitation to her tea party. We hope that you choose to attend.
Shit, okay, well, I'll just dump this tea out right now, because I don't fucking feel like it.
Well.
Get out of here, Beatrice.
Okay, I'm starting it.
Alright, me too. Oh shit, episode 1 tea party.
What?
What?
Wrong tea party.
Episode 1 tea party.
Yeah, episode 1 tea party.
Yeah. Oh shit, this is some cool music.
Oh yeah, what I wanted to explain was, in Higurashi, it was after, a tea party was after an arc ended. There would be this extra thing where the characters would discuss who they thought the culprit was and how they thought stuff was done, and it's supposed to help you think about the stuff that's about who the culprit is and the mystery and stuff. So that's what's happening here. They're going to give you pretty good hints.
Oh shit, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, yep, it starts with you.
Alright. Let me just, get into character here. Yeah. Yeah. Let me take a sip of my tea. It's too hot to take a sip. Never mind. Hey everyone, congrats on finishing Umineko no Naku Koroni. Man, I still didn't have a clue what was going on when the story ended. So just what happened? Was that basically the bad ending where time runs out before the culprit gets exposed? Ooh, definitely a bad ending. Ooh.
Well, fuck. We got the bad ending, Mike.
I guess. Shit, dude. I didn't even get any choice, dude. What the heck? How could I have chosen the bad ending? That doesn't make any sense. Alright. That's right. Beatrice's letter, which Maria read on the first day, did tell us in advance to solve the riddle of the epitaph. We were all so busy trying to protect ourselves and look for the culprit that we didn't even take a shot at it.
That's right. If we had actually tried to solve the riddle, maybe things would have ended differently.
I wonder about that. Shannon, you did a good job too. Even though you died, you don't have to be a waitress and serve tea. After all, this is a rat party. As a group of people who met as a horrible fate, let's all get along and lick each other's wounds. Lick, lick, lick.
Okay. Okay, Battler.
Speaking of a horrible fate, Shannon beats the rest of us hands down, doesn't she? She was such a beautiful character, so I thought she'd definitely survive until the very end.
She died like first.
Author making their own character, talking about their own character.
Yeah.
But she was killed right in the beginning, and on top of that, what was it? Half of her face was smashed, right? That's the worst.
That was my role, so, there was no way around it. Nay-san, it's nothing for you to worry about. Judging by the last epilogue, even Milady and the rest of them met an extremely tragic end.
Ah, it seems so. I think I remember seeing this horrible picture, kind of like my entire body had been eaten apart and dismembered. Speaking of which, don't you think Can's last moments were the coolest? Even though he had the tables turned on him, it was a showdown with the culprit, right? It's a whole bunch better than our confusing last moments, right?
Though, in the end, I was unable to get a solid hit in. Still, I think Cannon's death was a big hint. After all, because of that, the existence of the 19th person was made clear.
That's right. At the time, everybody's location was obvious, So it was impossible for anyone other than some unknown 19th person to kill Cannon. What do you mean? Nah. You lie. Okay, so I guess that it couldn't have been Nanjo or Genji, because the game says so for some reason. I guess all that theorizing was for naught. Ooh, I said it was Beatrice from the beginning over and over. Ooh. I don't want to believe it, but that does prove the culprit was a witch calling herself Beatrice.
That's right. There were many strange things that happened that a human couldn't do.
Ooh, only a witch could do things like murdering Aunt Ava in that closed room. A human couldn't do it. Ooh.
Not only is the existence of a 19th person clear, but it's also obvious that this person holds a power that humans can't even imagine.
In that case, I don't think there's anything wrong with calling this person Beatrice. Well, we probably met at the very end. Met with the Golden Witch. Like I kept saying, Beatrice exists. You don't want that because no one ever believed. Ooh, even one of her witch friends say that miracles won't occur if you don't believe. Ooh.
That's right. Beatrice is generous to those who respect her. It seems to me that Maria was never a target of Beatrice's wrath up to the very end, despite the horrible crimes that occurred one after another.
Well, Maria believed in Beatrice from the very beginning. But if that's the case, how do you explain why you and the rest were all killed? You guys believed in Beatrice just as much, right?
Beatrice probably had her reasons. If the song of the epitaph represented Beatrice's resurrection ceremony, many sacrifices were needed. He must simply have been designated to be one of those.
Shannon, you met a horrible end. At the very least, I wish your death could have been more peaceful and pretty.
Well, it's not like it hurt. Anyway, right now, I'm perfectly fine, so don't worry. After seeing him stroke Shannon's cheek, which had been crushed during the story, everyone laughed out loud, smiling.
Well, it feels a bit weird saying this, but I was sure the story would fit into the standard mystery genre. I'm a bit surprised to find out that it's a fantasy. After all, a Western mansion shut away from the outside world on an isolated island with an inheritance problem on everyone's minds. It sounds like a typical mystery novel to me. Ooh, it's not fantasy. Beatrice exists.
Yes, we understand. Beatrice does exist. That's right. Beatrice does exist.
I hate to admit it, but I've got no choice, because it's obvious that a 19th person, a witch, was involved. Many things happened that would be impossible for humans. During the story, we tried to deny that in all sorts of ways. But now, I can say for sure, each crime, every single one, would have been impossible for a human. They'd be impossible to carry out unless it was the witch Beatrice using all the power magic could provide. The culprit was a witch. That point's perfectly clear. Heh. Long live Beatrice. Ha 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 ha. Ooh, everyone believed. I'm so glad. Ooh.
Gods and witches might seem terrifying to people who are frightened of them, but I think they must be affectionate to those who believe and respect them. I think you're right.
So this murder case game is finally over. Now the time. Fuck, I'm reading from not the game. Now the time to pull ourselves together and try hard to solve the riddle of the epitaph, just like Beatrice said, right? Ooh, I agree. Beatrice would definitely be happy. Ha 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 ha. Everyone ignored that letter during the story.
Even though it was thrust right in front of us, we almost completely ignored it. I kind of feel sorry for Beatrice.
I've got the epitaph written down right here. Let's all solve it. Let's all solve it. This story probably went wrong ever since that time.
That may be so. Maybe we should have tried solving the epitaph's riddle from the beginning, like Beatrice said.
Well, it's a little late now. Even so, let's try solving it now and see if the witch forgives us. Let's go. Let's try to solve the riddle of the epitaph. It was something like, "Behold the sweet fish river running through my beloved hometown."
Maria put her notebook on the table and opened to the page where the epitaph was written. Everyone stared at it, getting really into it as they started guessing this and that about the riddle. Surrounded by the smell of black tea and freshly baked vanilla cookies, they spent the time comfortably and happily.
Hold on a second, you guys.
But Battler spoke in a way that cut through the conversation. His expression looked a little unhappy. What could he not like about all of this fun?
I've been listening to you guys for a while, but why did you all stop thinking? Why are you so sure that the witch was behind all this? Don't you realize something like that can't exist?
With just those words, the happy atmosphere surrounding the tea party evaporated in an instant. George and Jessica, and Shannon and Cannon, and Maria. All of them stared blankly, wondering what in the world Battler was talking about. Even the foolish, arrogant Battler realized that he hadn't chosen his words well.
Because isn't it clear that these crimes were impossible for a human? That's right. None of the cases would have been possible for a human.
That's true. After all, wasn't it full of things that humans couldn't explain? I don't understand what you're saying, Battler.
I'm the one who doesn't have a clue what you guys are talking about. Isn't it obvious that humans committed these crimes? There's no way something like a witch exists, right?
Then, what about when I was killed in the storehouse and something horrible was done to half of my face? If the culprit was human, how could they have accomplished it?
Well, it's hard to imagine how they did something that awful. But that was the Rose Garden storehouse, right? I'm sure there were plenty of weird tools in there. Let's say they used some electrical tools like a grinder or an electric saw. Then, Battler, how do you explain Grandfather's disappearance from the study when it was a closed room? Even though the door was sealed, Grandfather just suddenly disappeared, right? We talked about that during the story, too. It's not impossible that Grandfather used some trick to fool the receipt. You know, it's also possible that he went out the window, fell down, and Aunt Nancy locked the window from the inside. I could think of a bunch of tricks you could use without relying on magic. That makes sense, but... In that case, Bella, how do you explain the way my parents were killed in the guest room? The door was sealed by a lock and the chain. They're forgetting about how the witch appeared. What? You can't retcon that, man. Naturally, the window was sealed too. How do you think a human could have killed my parents? Well, we did have to leave that trick alone during the story. Anyway, there's at least a good chance the culprit had a key, and it was possible to look through the crack in the door that the chain allowed. I know this is a stretch, but it's possible some device was used through that crack. Like maybe they stuck something through it. That's dumb. He's dumb. Well, even though a door train is incredibly simple, it's a big factor in setting up a closed room. Still, there's probably some closed room trick they could have used. If you brought some closed room mystery novels from the bookstore, you could probably find some trick that fit perfectly. Anyway, I can think of one now, but I claim there's nothing humans can't do if they try hard enough. Isn't that argument horribly irrational? It's just ridiculous to claim that it's possible for a human to do something even though you can't explain how. Why is that ridiculous? Why did all of you stop thinking? Even something that looks impossible has to be doable. Doesn't it always work like that? Battler, you're the one being ridiculous. If you think a human could have done it, try explaining how. You can't, can you? And you're okay with saying the culprit is a witch just because I can't explain it? With that argument, all the unsolvable crimes in the world could be resolved by saying a witch is the culprit. Battler, you're sidestepping the issue, and you aren't explaining anything. We're saying a human couldn't have done it. Therefore, the culprit is something that isn't human, and that something is a witch. And yet you keep arbitrarily deciding that witches are impossible, even though you can't explain anything. It's almost like humanity was during the Dark Ages, like those fools who claimed the heavens spun around the earth, those who said that the Earth couldn't be spinning, even though they couldn't explain why. That kind of argument pisses me off. So this is basically what you're trying to say. If I can't explain how a human could do it, then I must accept that the culprit is a witch.
It's not like we're forcing you to go that far. We were just wondering on what basis you can say such nonsense.
Nonsense? Hey, have I really been saying something that weird just now? Am I the one who's crazy? You guys are really starting to freak me out.
Battler, when I died in the boiler room, I was killed by a 19th person who shouldn't exist. Can you explain how a human could have done that? At that time, the locations of the 18 were well known. Even so, I was killed.
We talked about that in the story as well, right? Kumasawa, for example. She said that she followed right after you and headed down the boiler room, but we can't know for sure whether that was a lie or not. For all we know, she might have entered the boiler room with you and caught you by surprise. Or maybe when you stepped into the boiler room, you activated some kind of trap, one that might have been set up to hit you with one of those ice picks. After all, the stank of Grandfather's body was coming from the incinerator. Someone was bound to go and check, so if the culprit just set up a trap beforehand, they could easily have stayed away from that place and used the time of Cannon's death to create an alibi.
You talk about a trap in the boiler room, but what kind of trap could that be?
That's right. Following his death, everyone immediately ran over to the boiler room, but we didn't find any kind of weird device, did we?
That is correct. Battler, what kind of trap could I have been killed with?
Well, I don't know that. But anyway, they must have used some kind of clever trap, or maybe someone's lying. Or what about this? Cannon, what if the whole thing was just you play acting? That's it, you were play acting, getting stabbed in the chest somehow. And even Uncle Hideyoshi were also play acting. They made the closed room themselves, and were only pretending to be dead. Battler, has your head been, feeling okay?
Should I bring some cold drinks?
Don't look at me with those pitying eyes. I'm not saying something that crazy, right? I'm just pointing out some possibilities you might find if you think of it all as what? I can't read. I'm just pointing out some possibilities you might find if you think of it as all as a trick. Fuck. Look, isn't it a pretty classic trick in mystery stories to have one of the victims just be playing dead? A classic trick. In other words, when Cannon was killed, we knew for sure where all the rest of us were, and let's assume that Kumasawa wasn't lying. But that's only counting the survivors. What if the culprit pretended to be dead and joined a group of real victims so we'd lose track of them, and then acted on their own later? Everything would be explained. Huh? So are you trying to say that Aunt Eva or one of the others was the culprit? But didn't Dr. Nanjo confirm all their deaths as a doctor?
That's right. Dr. Nanjo checked all of the victims. Battler, for your theory to work, wouldn't Dr. Nanjo have to be one of the culprits too?
Yeah, that's right. Once you consider that Dr. Nanjo might have been one of the culprits and faked the proclamation of death, the whole story changes. See, that's also a classic trick in mystery novels, isn't it? But Dr. Nanjo was also killed, right? About that. That's right, Dr. Nanjo faked his death. I decided that it's fake. After all, there wasn't anyone except Dr. Nanjo who could examine corpses properly, and everyone was really confused then anyway. We didn't have any spare time to check and see if he still had a pulse. With this theory, any one of the dead people could have been walking around.
I think it would have been hard for the 6 of us who died in the beginning to do that. After all, the shutter was closed, and there was a padlock that couldn't have been opened from the inside.
That's right. Mom was holding onto that key, so was Mom one of the culprits too? Wait a sec. Maybe it was impossible for the first 6, but in the case of Aniki's parents, the door was only locked on the outside, so they could have opened it from the inside. That's right, after we left the room. Maybe they jumped out of the window and got to the boiler room first. Is that too much of a stretch? Or maybe Dr. Nandra made a mistake when examining the corpses. Look, he said himself, right? He said there's a very high probability of making a mistake when examining corpses. If you disguise it well enough or prepared a substitute body, you could fake your own death. Let's leave the method or trick they use for later. And you see, it's not that hard to deny a 19th person existed, right? Much less a witch, right? At least that much is completely impossible.
I don't know why you've been trying so subtly to say that one of us is the culprit. In other words, you want us to suspect one of your relatives.
That's not it. It's just, I can't easily accept that a 19th person exists, and even if one did, I think we should construct our argument from the point of view that the culprit was human. I'll only accept that it's a witch in desperation at the very end. At the very end, after everything else has been disproved. There's no way witches exist, right? Why has everyone been casually accepting the culprit was a witch? I think it's right how your family love makes you hate the thought that someone close to you is a murderer. But is it okay to let that fool you? Don't you want to find the detestable culprit who killed so many people? Anki, don't you want to avenge your parents? Jessica, don't you want to avenge Cannon and Cannon? What? Don't you want to avenge Cannon? And Cannon, don't you want to avenge Shannon? Shannon, you should at least want to know who it was that killed you. Why is everyone totally surrendered and decided that the culprit was a witch? What's wrong with all of you?
The foolish and short-tempered battler tried to force his ignorance on the others and yelled at them. However, everyone just looked at him pityingly, silently watching over him. At that time, the wise Maria laughed and pointed out Battler's mistake.
Ooh, you're fucking retarded. Ooh.
I'm just shocked. All I see is you repeating this nonsense, thinking you figured something out, Battler. So, what's next? How would a human do it? In practical terms, I mean, I imagine you'll say.
I just can't think of anything now.
Or,
With some kind of device.
using abstract words to run away and evade the topic.
Fuck. What I really want to know, Battler, is this: why don't you believe in Beatrice? She exists, so why don't you believe? Because she doesn't exist. Witches don't exist. There's no way.
It was almost like a spoiled child who just doesn't want to accept something. The pitying gazes quietly closed in around Battler, but they didn't reach his stubborn heart.
You realize that you're acting just like a spoiled brat throwing a tantrum, right?
Battler, I understand your feelings, but Beatrice does exist.
Battler, why don't you believe? Even though there's so much proof. I accept the argument that the witch must have been behind everything just because I can't explain it. Does this mean that if you don't know how a light bulb shines, then magic is the cause? No, it's science. That's wrong, isn't it? There's nothing that can be explained without magic. All of this about witches and magic is just abdication of thought. You just surrendered and gave up because you don't understand what happened. Isn't that right?
Well, unsurprisingly, it looks like you alone won't believe no matter what, Battler. If even a single person doesn't believe, the miracle won't occur. So if you don't rethink your ignorant theories, the miracle and the magic won't be completed.
Heh. Now I see. I finally figured it out. So in other words, you guys aren't trying to force me to say the witch exists, right? A lie that everyone accepts becomes the truth. Is that what all this is about? I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I keep going on about this. But what you're doing is all useless. I refuse. You guys are all pissing me off. That's why it's all useless.
Why?
Sorry, but why don't you just let me spin the chessboard around one last time? There should be like a theme whenever he does this, like the Yu-Gi-Oh theme or some shit. Spin the chessboard! I don't know.
Kyrie taught me it.
with this knowledge passed down from Kiri, I will discover the murderer.
Witches don't exist because I flipped the chessboard around.
Witches don't exist because eyes don't exist. How can any of us be real if our eyes aren't real? Jaden Smith. Amazing. If you don't want to force me to accept that there's a witch, there's a real easy way. And it's not the indirect way of saying it must be a witch because humans couldn't have done it. All you have to do is show me a witch doing it with magic. Doing it. Furthermore, what Maria said earlier is what'll really dig her grave. You said that even if one person doesn't believe, a miracle won't occur. But real miracles happen whether people believe in them or not. Even if I alone don't believe. So any miracles or magic or witches that exist only because I believe in them are downright lies.
Oh, that actually makes sense. The uneasy mood following Battler's ignorant rant was blown away by a very soft and light laugh. Whose laugh? Battler was surprised. He had never heard that voice before. When he looked at George and Jessica, at Shannon and Kenan and Maria, he noticed that they had suddenly gone respectfully silent.
Fuck off. What?
Beatrice.
What the fuck?
How amusing! I haven't met such a charming human for quite some time.
What? Who are you?
Don't you even know the host of the tea party you were invited to? How amusing indeed. Ha 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 ha. This is Beatrice, the golden witch who has lived for 1,000 years. It is an honor to be graced with your presence, Beatrice.
Please forgive Battler's ranting.
This guy is just stubborn and he still doesn't understand the situation he's in.
Ha 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 ha! What a treat this is. Most witches get tired of living after the first 1,000 years. How nice it is to meet a man with a backbone such as yourself every once in a while.
It is quite an honor to be present when Beatrice shows herself, Battler. Yeah. How astonishing. Are you really that desperate to make me believe that a witch, that a 19th person is the culprit? This is starting to get interesting. And it's all useless. You must be the illusion that Maria and the others call the witch, Beatrice. And you'll only be allowed to exist if everyone believes it. You have that kind of half existence, right? That's why you want to make me believe too. You can't exist because I don't exist. Because I alone don't believe in you. Isn't that right?
Your powers of comprehension aren't bad for a mere commoner who knows nothing of magic. Yes, it seems you were born with a strong magic-resisting power. You're a natural enemy of us witches. No matter how much we turn your world upside down, you never believe in us. Therefore, the magic won't succeed. I accept that attitude of yours. Ha 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 ha.
I've got no clue what you're saying. That's very kind of you to go to all the trouble of showing yourself to us. But I don't believe you exist in the slightest. What? It's true that many strange things happened during those 2 days. Like Marie said earlier, even though I think all the tricks could be explained, I still can't lay out the practical details of each one. However, that doesn't mean I'll surrender. I'm different from the rest of them, got it? I'm the protagonist, I'm the main character. I'll never accept that it was the work of a witch just because I can't explain it.
This keeps getting more amusing. Making you surrender will be worth my while. You're just the kind of man I'd like to force into praising my name. I'd love to try making a man like you kiss my toes.
Ew! No, I don't want to imagine that.
Yeah.
I fucking hate foot fetishes, dude. It's actually disgusting.
Yeah.
It's gross. If you want to talk nonsense, talk all you want. I deny you exist, and I'll never kiss your toes. All of the events can be explained with human tricks. There's no room for even a speck of magic or witches.
Wonderful. What a perfect way to divert oneself from 1,000 years of boredom. Then let me ask you. A short while ago, you said that using the crack in the door would be sufficient to kill Ava and Hideyoshi, right?
Yeah, that's
Explain,
actually retarded.
explain how they could have been killed using some human trick.
Heh. Suddenly jumping right into the toughest part, are you? Doesn't that mean this is the trick you're proudest of, Miss Real Culprit? Whoa.
With a
The
shake of
Thanos
her...
snap.
With a shake of her golden pipe, gentle multicolored smoke trailed out of the end. The smoke quickly obscured their surroundings, and they were suddenly in the hallway of the mansion.
Holy shit.
The door in front of them, slightly open but secured by the chain, was... That's right, it's the door to the room where Ava and Hideyoshi were killed.
Nice trick.
Very well. Show me what you would do through this small crack, Battler.
Sticks his dick in there. Or, they probably had some device to shoot those ice picks. If they used that.
How would they reach Ava over on the bed when you can't see that far through this crack? And how would they reach...
Mirrors!
And how would they reach Hideyoshi in the bathroom with the door shut?
More mirrors! Damn. There's a crack. There should be some way.
If you can't think of one, allow me.
Oh, how would a witch do it? Come on, let's see your little trick.
Bobby, you're being rude to Beatrice.
How nice, how nice. What a charming man. That will make it even more fun to force him into submission.
Ha! You really want to make me kiss your toes that much? Only if I surrender. I'll never fucking do that. But watch, I'll definitely expose this trick and that'll make you kiss my ass instead. Bitch.
What a delightful man. I'll remember that promise. Weak witches kiss the behinds of demons to gain power because there's no more humiliating oath. Just being told that makes me want to force you into surrender. Ha 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 ha. Paying no mind to Battler's worthless ranting, Beatrice once again shook the golden pipe. That's right, that golden pipe was her precious magic cane. Come, arise, children. I am the guide of purgatory. Forgive the deadly sins and hold the 7 stakes. Guided by those magic words, which sounded like a command, 7 stakes gathered. They were the stakes of the 7 demons symbolizing the deadly sins of sinful people. Beelzebub and Asmodeus, come, forgive the sins. Release the spirits of the sinners.
What?
The picks of Beelzebub and Asmodeus responded to Beatrice's call. The 2 stakes of the demons were sucked in through the crack of the door like billiard balls struck by a cue stick. Then several scattered noises refracted through the wall, making a sound like a woodpecker, and at the end, a pleasant sound could be heard.
Huh.
It was a small, satisfying sound, like the one heard when someone is chopping firewood and the falling axe neatly and easily slices through the wood. It was the sound of the 2 picks burying themselves deep into Ava's and Hideyoshi's foreheads. Right down the middle. Want to see? They definitely heard 2 sounds like a pair of foreheads being split open. Battler wasn't permitted to see it since he was on the other side of the door, but those 2 had died again, and this second time they lay not an inch apart from where they had lain the last time, with the exact same blood spray as before.
You moron. That's insane. You think you can just kill them like that?
I can kill them. I can kill them just like this. Ha 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 ha. Suddenly they were no longer in the hall but seated at the tea party they had started from. Everyone but Battler was sitting meekly, but Cannon was moaning, fresh blood dangling from his mouth. What a rude thing to do at the tea party. Satan's stake was buried deep into Cannon's chest.
Cannon. Damn it.
Battler was the only one getting agitated. George, Jessica, Shannon, everyone else was meekly hanging their heads like students being yelled at by their teacher. Cannon was captivated by a trifling anger and tried to disturb my banquet. Being easily captivated by anger is your deadly sin. Cleanse yourself, repent, and do it over. Trisama. Beatrice. Please forgive him. I think Canon has repented enough. Wonderful. I am generous to those who respect me. Ha 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 ha.
Don't screw with me. Do you think I'll accept your existence because of this cheap act? Like hell, you're a 1,000-year-old witch. Your tricks aren't 1,000 years old, they're just some of a century of classic tricks from the mystery genre. There's no such thing as magic. Definitely not. All the crimes can be explained with human tricks.
Ha 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 ha! You would explain my 1,000 years with 100 years of humans? Good, good. This is precisely why I've taken a liking to you.
Foolish Battler.
Cut it out, Battler. You can't go against the witch.
Shannon started moaning, holding her cheek. Maybe she had a toothache, but apparently it wasn't a toothache after all. A slight redness spread across the cheek Shannon was holding. It looked like that redness was causing Shannon unbearable pain. Her fingers were pressing in against her cheek, and drops of sweat appeared all over her body.
Shannon, Shannon, hang in there, hang in there.
What's
going on? Damn it, what the hell is that red stuff? Is that her period on her face?
It expanded rapidly, covering half of Shannon's face. Then the stupid dunce Battler finally realized. Please,
Battler. Please believe in Beatrice, I beg you. Because you won't believe. The magic is dissolving.
For the first time in his life, Battler heard that sound like a pomegranate splitting. The red spray even landed on Battler's face. Poor Shannon's face had been split in half, and her last horrible moments in that storehouse were repeated once again.
Shannon. Damn it. Stop it. Don't humiliate the dead. Ugh.
This time, the redness spread across George's entire body. It was like the beautiful cloud drawn by milk when it's poured into black tea. It spread out and extended across his entire body. As it did, it seemed to give George increasingly greater pain. Looking at this bizarre spectacle, Battler was petrified as he frantically thought with his pitifully clumsy imagination about the nature of the strange death George and the rest were experiencing. Eventually, that redness reached the nearby Jessica as well.
Stop it. What did Aniki do? What did Jessica do? Just stop it. Battler. Don't let the witch break your spirit. Doctor, erase her. As long as at least one person denies her, she's an illusion that can't exist. Are you okay, Jessica? Aniki?
George was no longer recognizable as a human. He looked like the pile of leftover meat after the good delicious meat had been scraped off to be cooked. The only thing that even resembled a human was the shape of his lower jaw and ribcage, and it was clear that Jessica, who was covered with a steadily strengthening redness, was approaching the same fate.
Battler, quickly believe in Beatrice. If you don't, everyone's magic.
Marie, it's all over your body, too.
I revive all the dead with my magic, but as long as you don't believe, that magic will hold no true power. Ha 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 ha. But I'm sure that a man like yourself won't surrender to something like this, right?
Battler, we didn't want to doubt our friends. We refused to face reality and gave in to the witch. But, Battler, you won't give in to the witch. Jessica!
Poor Jessica met the same end. Just like George, she ended up like a butcher's leftovers. George and Jessica were now so destroyed, melted, and mixed up it was impossible to tell them apart.
Battler, don't cry. Beatrice will restore the dead over and over. So there's nothing to be sad about. So, even if we die, we're still just fine.
The redness began eating into the whole of Maria's body. The foolish battler watched and screamed.
I won't forgive you. I'll never forgive you. A witch, magic, I'll risk my body and soul to deny you. No matter what happens, I can't accept you. Now that you've gone so far as to piss me off, I'll never forgive you. I won't forgive you. I won't forgive. I definitely won't forgive you. You'll regret making me, Ushiro Moe Battler, your enemy. I will deny you no matter what. No matter how baffling things get, it can only be explained by humans and reason. I'll erase every cell of you from this world.
Well said. Battler, was it? That's just the thing to divert me from my 1,000 years of boredom. Come, explain. Try explaining it all with humans and tricks, and learn how lowly humans are. Let's see if what humanity has built up in 100 years can oppose my 1,000 years. That's what will make forcing you to submit so pleasant. So tell me, you who call yourself Battler, what about Maria's letter? How the 6 were killed? The shutter? The receipt seal? The closed room with the chain? Cannon in the boiler room? Genji and the others in the lounge? Natsui's suicide? The riddle of the epitaph? The location of the hidden gold? Yes, Battler, why don't you show me the power of humans? Ha 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 ha!
Oh shit, dude, now I'm pumped actually. I'm gonna fucking solve this mystery, dude.
This music is awesome.
Okay. It's time for my reasoning abilities to come into play.
Your facts and logic.
I'm gonna talk like this whenever I'm reasoning because of no reason particularly. Shit, okay. So, that was an interesting tea party. That was an interesting tea party.
Yeah, he actually... The tea parties are a little different in Umineko. That's the only one where it's them, like, discussing it like that. Because he wanted to subvert people's expectations who had read Higurashi, so that they'd think they were just getting a normal tea party where they were just talking about it. That's why he started it like that. But,
Okay.
it's actually part...
So all
it's
that was
actually
basically
part of...
non-canon.
No, it is canon. It's actually part of the
What?
story. That's how he tried to throw... That's what I mean when I say he tried to throw off his readers by making it seem like it wasn't. It was like a Higurashi thing, Higurashi tea party, but it's not. It's completely different.
So that means that Beatrice exists?
Of course, Beatrice exists.
What? No. Okay. Fuck off. God, I don't.
I'm
wanna,
Beatrice.
I don't want to believe that.
Neither does Battler. And then George believed it, and George and Jessica were all like, "Don't give in to the witch, though." So I don't know.
Fuck me, dude. I don't fucking. Oh, dude, what's this question mark shit?
Oh, that's 10. That's the secret tea party. It's like 10 minutes long, and it's where we're gonna finish it after this. I've still got the end credits rolling here. How do I skip that? I can't skip it. Okay, it's almost done. But yeah, so yeah, after this we gotta record like a 10-minute episode, and then you'll be done at 4, because the secret tea party is like 10 minutes.
Okay.
And well, I'll explain it to you after. But okay, so what's your reasoning for all the puzzles?
Jedi mind tricks.
That makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. See, I solved it. You know, you can just give me the $500 now. But honestly, I have no fucking idea. The closed room one is probably one of the hardest. I like how they summarize everything that you need to figure out
Oh yeah.
at the very end. I don't fucking know, dude. I don't fucking know.
Okay, you want to stop recording and then record the last one then?
Sure.
Okay, awesome.
See you all next time.
See you all next time.